Alright guys, welcome back to another GeoGuessr video, another 5 metas every pro should know Sunday. We're on episode 31, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, we're doing Oman today, as seen by the title. Should be an interesting one. Oman, a country that was just released within like the past 2 or 3 months, I want to say. So relatively new, and it's already pretty much like mostly been solved because most of the country is quite deserty, so it's only really on the main roads of coverage, even though the surface area is quite big. The main population centers obviously are near Muscat and then on the south coast, and then the paved roads going through the middle that kind of connect the two. So yeah, not as much coverage as the surface area actually presents, but yeah, we're going to have a couple of metas for you that should help you guys be able to guess in Oman, and if you guys have not read the Plunkett Guide yet, I would definitely give that one a read as well. So let's hop into it. All right, I realized that putting the cam in the corner here is way better for looking at the actual country, so we're doing that. I don't know why I didn't do it before, but we're just realizing now. Whatever. Anyway, east of Salalah Road is our first meta today, so Salalah obviously down here, southwest coast of Oman. And this road is very distinct just because we do have a ridge always to the north pretty much. If you look at the topography of this, you can pretty much just see a ridge throughout going along this road. And like this coastal part is pretty flat. And it's mostly going to be a 2-lane highway. They do drive both ways on this. But yes, you will see like at least some sort of mountainous thing towards the north. And it is pretty clear. Driving back towards the west, I have noticed that there is quite a foggy camera if you're driving west on this road, but it is like a 2 or 3 lane road usually. So it is pretty distinct, and you can usually see the coast to the south. Not on this location, but on most of them, like this one you will. So it's a pretty easy lineup and, you know, pretty quick because you will get like usually a turnoff road, 2 lanes, and then 2 lanes on the other side. And then a huge mountain range, plus the water to the south. So one of the most distinct roads, I think, in Oman. Very cool little palm tree oasis kind of farm here. But yeah, you get towards the big mountains as you move further down. Now here is where the road definitely ends up looking like less of a highway, not as many guardrails, but you can still see these hills to the north. And then once you get all the way down here is when it pretty much just turns into one lane road, not even a highway anymore. But you are going through some hills, and you do see like copious amounts of mountains to the north, and you can still kind of detect that there is water somewhere to the south here. But yeah, very distinct road, and I think definitely something to look at. But I think the 2 to 3 lane roads, especially with that kind of angle going east-west with a mountain north, you won't always see the water, but sometimes you will, is a pretty good clue that you're down here. All right, so as seen, there are a couple of places with Foggy Cam, but I think probably the most distinct is the Foggy Front Cam that's on Masira Island, which is this island here, and the Shark Road, so we can take a quick look at those. So the Masira Island Foggy Cam pretty much going to be on the front part. It's going to be like a very not like super significant one like we saw on the road here near Salalah, but there is a slight fog. As you can see on the other side, it's quite clear, but on this side it does look like a slight fog towards the front of the cam, and then not so much towards the back. So that's pretty much on the entire island here, and it's a very recognizable island because of it. Obviously, if you're playing NPZ and you're looking towards the back here, not as helpful, but you can definitely make a nice region guess with the angle, maybe seeing the water as well, because on most parts of this island, it's pretty much a ring road, so you'll pretty much see the water in most cases. Not always, but yeah, if you're playing no move, you can get the Foggy Cam, line up a road maybe. And as you can see, it's not just on the ring road, it's on like these off roads as well. A little bit foggy towards the front here, and yeah, very interesting, and yeah, definitely an interesting meta to use. And you see the same phenomenon on the Shark Road here, which is this road. I guess off the 32 they didn't cover this stretch, but they only covered this part along the coast, which is quite interesting. But this one is super foggy, so like probably one of the most distinct roads in Oman. But you will get this extreme fog on the front of the cam and nothing on the back. So it is more more extreme than the fog that you get on the camera on Masira Island. So yeah, pretty much as you drive all the way down to Shark here, you'll get this significant amount of fog, and it's a pretty recognizable one because you can also see the coast south. So yeah, probably the easiest and most 5K-able road in Oman. All right, next we're covering something about the antenna here. I figured I would include some car meta in here because it is quite useful. If I'm not super into teaching car meta, but yeah, it just happens sometimes, of course, because sometimes it can't be avoided, especially in countries like Oman or Mongolia or Kazakhstan or stuff like that. So yeah, we'll do a little car meta segment here, and this time we'll be talking about the antenna. So the right bent antenna is pretty much found everywhere in the country, I want to say. Most prominent south, as you can see this map here. It's not going to be as much on this coastal part, like definitely not in Muscat area, not along this part, but yeah, there's a big chunk of coverage here, right close to the UAE border, and then one part along the north coast here. You can see the map here. And by right antenna, you saw it in the photo there, but yeah, it's just going to be an antenna bending to the right that kind of just goes straight up. Somewhat pointing towards us in the cam, but yeah, you'll see this right bending antenna. It is like pretty much on all of these roads. So if I click on any road here, I guess this one doesn't have it for some reason. I click on any road here, you'll pretty much get that right bending antenna on this entire structure here towards the south. So you should you know, if you recognize it and you see that right bent antenna, you should never go here with like any of the other three antennas, essentially. Unless, I guess, you get no antenna on some of this road. But here, even you can see that right bent antenna here. But yeah, by right bent antenna, we just mean that it's facing up and towards the right. All right, next we're looking at the antenna facing towards the camera, so we can see the map distribution here. It's pretty much only going to be on that north coast and a little bit in that enclave that's north of UAE. So yeah, you'll find this, and by the antenna facing us, you can see it in the photo here, it's facing towards us in the camera, and it's found all over the north part of the country. So if you see an antenna like this, where it's directly facing us, you should never guess south, because you will never get this south, and yeah, it's a really good indication. I think the antenna meta was probably the easiest to learn, and that's why I chose it, and it's definitely the most teachable, and yeah, just general rules like that are pretty useful. Even if we were to click on the exclave here, you can see the antenna is facing us as well. So I'll probably might as well just throw that one in there in the map, just in case you guys want to look at that as well. All right, the next antenna we're talking about is the straight up antenna. So let's look at the distribution here. By straight up antenna, it differs from the right bent antenna because it is like pretty much straight. This one obviously does have a right kick to it. But this straight up antenna is pretty uncommon in Oman, but it is mostly situated on that north coast as well. Mainly found around and west of Muscat, as well as on highways in the northwest. And then there's a few other pockets here that we can show. But yeah, mainly on these main highways here, you'll even get it up here as well. But yeah, around Muscat, but not in Muscat. Because in Muscat, you'll see the antenna that we'll get to next. But yeah, by north facing antenna, this one doesn't have as much of a bend as the other one does. Definitely can be misconstrued, I would say. But yeah, you can kind of see the difference here by just looking at the right bent antenna. This one is a little bit more bent. Maybe this one is right as well. Yeah, but yeah, this one's straight up as well. So yeah, definitely learn the difference between the straight up and the right bent, because even I confused it here in the map making, but it does happen. And yeah, the straight up antenna you can use with this map provided on the Plonket guide here, that shows around and west of Muscat and then on the major highways. All right, the last thing that we're talking about is the forward facing antenna, and this is probably the best for region guessing, because you'll only get this in the Muscat province, in and around. So yeah, as you can see here, it's pretty much only found in this subdivision here, and pretty much only around it. And by facing away from us, forward facing, it is facing towards the front of the car. And this one is very useful because, you know, you can get a nice region guess down and you know it's Muscat, especially on rounds like this where it's not as obvious. you know you're in a bigger city, but you don't know where. Very, very useful, of course, and you can see this around the area of Muscat as well. So yeah, just looking at the distribution real quick, you can pretty much only see it in that subdivision, and is that forward-facing antenna. Alright, the next three metas that we're going to be talking about for this meta number 4 is kind of niche ones. So if you do see these, you'll probably get this one in every, like, I don't know, I want to say like 500 games, but it is useful because you can get a snipe down and potentially win the game if your opponent doesn't know it. So we'll talk about Amal oil drills first. So the city of Amal here, which is just northeast of Salalah in the desert, kind of. Well, I guess it's all desert, but you know what I mean. You'll see copious amounts of oil drills around the city. This is probably the best view that you're going to get. Look at all of these oil drills. I wouldn't even say Amal is a city. It's probably just a station with all of these oil drills. But yeah, you can see them from pretty far out as well. You can see them here to the south. It's pretty much only going to be, like, if you see the oil drills, you're going to be looking at this this white part that's highlighted on the map. And yeah, you can see couple of oil drills here as well. So the Amal oil drills meta is definitely a niche one, but it's something that can potentially win you the game if your opponent doesn't know it. The next thing that we're talking about is another meta for the western part of Oman, and we've got the Ubar grassy fields plus flat desert. So the city of Ubar here, which is just north of Salalah, you will get a lot of grassy agricultural fields, plus a very, very flat-looking landscape. So kind of an oasis-ish style, I guess, in the way that we do have green fields, plus all of these palms here. But yeah, you'll see a lot of green fields around this area, and pretty much only area in that deserty area that you will get this. You can obviously get it, like, down here near Salalah, but you will see mountains pretty much all of the time. So if you see a flat landscape with this green fields and such, you know you're in Ubar. And then one more Western meta for you guys, because it is, you know, most people will probably just click here, because that is where most of the coverage is. But nice guess down in north of Facade, and you get these orange and pink sand dunes on this road. I guess this is technically still part of the 43, allegedly. But yeah, we're just going into it here, and this, and as we move further down, you will get like very orange and pinkish off-roading sand dunes. And yeah, very, very distinct, I would say. Yeah, one of the only places in Oman that you're going to get some really extreme off-roading coverage like that. And it is a very valuable meta at the end of the day. Alright, the last meta that we're going to be talking about is the Nizwa green bushes. So Nizwa, the city southwest of Muscat here. You're going to get a lot of coverage up in the hills, and you'll get probably the most bush coverage that you kind of see. Kind of reminds me of like a Spain, like a Catalonia coastal kind of situation there with some of these bushes, Mediterranean-like feel to it. But a lot of green bushes around this area, especially like north of Nizwa here. Big bushes and such like that. You can obviously still tell it is quite deserty, but you do get a lot of huge bushes around this area. And there's a lot of coverage concentrated in this like very mountainous pocket, because there is a pretty big population center here. So a lot of green bushes and such surrounded by mountains, usually a good indication that you're in that Nizwa area. Encourage you to click around, of course, to just look at everything. Because it is useful in recognizing it, but I think the Nizwa green bushes is a really good meta and definitely quite reliable for guessing in Oman. Alrighty, hope you guys enjoyed another 5 metas every pro should know video in Oman today. Had a lot of fun filming this one, and yeah, we got to learn some car meta as well as some landscape meta, which I always enjoy sharing more than the car, but you know, at the end of the day, you gotta learn some car meta. You know, guys, you can't just be a complete meta purist. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next Sunday for another 5 metas every pro should know video. Peace.